I didn't see Aaron, and I heard the bass. I knew he was here. Listen here, if you want to be miserable, don't come here. Just stay wherever you are. Because God is good all the time. This morning, my title is, do you really want to be healed? Yes. Really? Yes. Do you really want to be healed? Yes. Are you willing to overcome your doubts and unconscious beliefs that keep you bound? Because we're not talking about fixing the condition this morning. We're talking about going to the cause of the condition. I'm inspired by the book, Secrets of Aboriginal Healing, a physicist's journey with a remote Australian tribe by Gary Holz. Recently, you know what I was doing? I was watching television, right? I don't know how I get time to watch television as busy as my life is, but I do. And so I was watching, and there was a show from New Zealand called One Lane Bridge. And the whole premise is this police officer is attuned to the spiritual world. I mean, he is attuned. And it prompted me to want to know more about Aboriginal spirituality. Ironically, a few weeks later, I was sitting in my office having a conversation with Christine Westall, and she said, by coincidence, I was reading a book that I thought you would like, Secrets of Aboriginal Healing. You think it's coincidence, and I am here to tell you what it is God is working it all together for your good. Every one of those coincidences is an accident, maybe, if you want to call it that. But it is all working together for your good, which is the recognition that the Spirit is in your life. Because let me tell you something, I figured out a long time ago, I'm really not smart enough to do this thing on my own. I'm really not. If you're smart enough to do it on your own, you go right ahead. But I'm not. I have to access the divine all the time. Sometime to restrain me so I don't slap you. And other times to just remind myself that I shouldn't be so worked up that I want to slap you. So the book addresses this issue of Aboriginal healing. And really, in all honesty, I had to say, I thought I was reading a Science of Mind textbook. It was so much hours. Remember this. Look at the coincidences in your life. The Spirit is working them together for your good. We co-create by setting an intention and living out our purpose in the world. We all have a purpose, and when we all live it out, the Spirit is there to empower us to make it so. And if you don't think you know what your purpose is, just ask the Spirit. Don't ask anybody else, because you can't trust everybody, that they're spiritual enough to know what your calling is. You have to know what pulls and draws and motivates and gives you life. When you are walking and living and thinking, pursuing your purpose, you co-create. And you can rejoice and not worry because God's got your back. No matter what you go through, no matter what your experience is, God still has your back. The perception of wholeness is the consciousness of healing. This picture hangs in my office. It was given to me by Reverend Dr. Georgia, and I've never forgotten it when I went through practitioner training, that the perception of wholeness is the consciousness of healing. You have to recognize your wholeness if you want to access your healing. Because the reason we don't have healing is because we have not accessed and recognized our oneness. And our spiritual principle is spiritual mind healing, which we call oneness or wholeness, and the Aboriginal call it connectedness. Because as Ernest Holmes wrote, there is one life. That one life is God's life. That life is perfect. And that life is my life now. My life now. Spiritual mind healing is not healing of the divine mind. The divine mind does not need to be healed. I need my mind healed. The Spirit is fine. I'm the one that needs to look past my conditions and circumstances to know what is true. Because if you don't, you will succumb to the condition. It's in spiritual mind healing that my mind is healed. Because the spirit is always whole, perfect, and complete, which is why you are whole, perfect, and complete. Let me tell you something. It's not your behavior that makes you whole, perfect, and complete. Because if I had the video of your life, I would show you that what you did was not whole, perfect, and complete. And I'm not admitting to anything unless you have video on me. Healing of the belief that there is any separation between us and the divine. That's the issue. That is where the condition comes from, is that we have been taught that we are separate from the divine, and you must do something to reestablish your personal relationship with the divine, as if you could ever be separated from something that you live within. Can a fish be separated from the water? We live and move and have our very being in the divine. There is nothing that you do, nothing that you say, that you are not still in the presence of the divine. You may lose your awareness, but you do not lose the relationship. We want to judge life by our relationships with other people, our relationships that we had with our parents, and our relationships that we have with other people. And we think that this is the way that God treats us. If God treated us the way we treat people, I don't know what we would do. It wouldn't be a holy and divine thing, because the divine thing is unconditional, uncontrolling love. That is unconditional, and it doesn't control anything, yet it never breaks relationship. Science of mind teaches, and we seek to heal the mindset that it gives individuals the belief that they are separated from spirit. That's what we do. And once we understand and we're successful at teaching that that relationship is never broken, your healing starts. You still have your mind set on the condition. I'm talking about the cause, the root of the problem. Because if you don't deal with the root of the weed, what's going to happen? The weed's coming back, and it comes back with a vengeance. We strive to heal the minds and to heal the minds of other individuals of this idea of separation. It is the reason that we believe and that the conditions present themselves in our lives. We can overcome anything as we become to understand that we are one with the divine. Because my mind is the creative medium by which the spirit operates. Now, I have my own ability to make my own decisions, but the spirit is always pouring its knowledge and its wisdom and its direction into my mind, which is the reason I didn't slap you. The reason I did not send that email that I wrote, that I did not send. It's in my draft folder. And when I die, if they read my draft folder, nobody's coming to my funeral. My mind is the place, the creative medium by which the place that the spirit gets to operate. The spirit is the cause, and it is always perfection. We choose by our beliefs and our thoughts to go away from an awareness of the spirit, and anything is possible when we get there. But it's spiritual mind healing that gives us the power based on our relationship. Connectedness and oneness is what the Aboriginal call it, and we call it wholeness. That there is nothing separate from me. It is all one. The story is about Gary. Gary is a physicist. A person who deals with facts, Newtonian. He's not a quantum physicist. He's looking at facts, okay? He has been in the military, and he now leads a company that builds microwave communication devices for the military. And he has some level of guilt of understanding that his skills and his abilities are actually being feeding into the war. So there's some element of guilt there. But he understands something within him is moving him in a particular direction. Because at 43 years old, a physician tells him, you have 2 years to live. Get your business together. Now, what would you do if you were told you have 2 years to live and to get your business in order? By the way, if you answer that question, you probably need to do it now, regardless of whether it's 2 years or not. There is something about someone saying that that date has been set that changes our perspective. So do you plan for your transition, or do you change the timeline? The timeline is negotiable. We are all going to make a transition one day. But you get to decide and you participate in whether or not that timeline, whether it ends today or later. The timeline is negotiable. The outcome is the same. And you cannot believe every prediction that the minor deities, the MDs, give you. And for those of you that are in the room, you're in this too. Because here is what I think the MD is for. That is an integrative MD. Our integrative MD over here is totally different. But because the thing here is here's what I need a doctor to do. To tell me what's wrong and to monitor my overcoming. And that's what Gary did. The guy said, you got 2 years. And Gary leaves and stops in a jazz club. And when he stops in a jazz club, just because his mood is bad and he's gonna die, and he is now in a wheelchair, which he sees as a death sentence, he sits down in the only chair, and the person sitting next to him, by coincidence, is a naturopath, and she knows healers in an Aboriginal village in New Zealand. And he's not in some obscure place, Southern California. That's where he is. He's in Southern California. He sits down in a jazz club, and by coincidence. So if you don't hear anything this morning, remember this: the coincidence in your life is the Spirit working life together for your good. I didn't say every situation in your life is good. That is a lie. There is a lot of things in my life that were not good, but the Spirit works it together for my good. And when you get that, you will be able to overcome circumstances that present themselves in your life, because you will understand, I just got to wait this through. I'm not done yet. I'm still in control. But he meets a naturopath who says, I know a healer in Australia. And guess what? For some reason, this physicist, probably because he said, I have nothing else to lose, decides to call the number of the healer. The healer does not answer. Have you ever told the doctor you get a diagnosis about something, or you have a test and you call looking for the results and they're not there? You know, there's nothing. You're like, you don't understand. This is a life or death situation for me. I need to know right now. You need to answer the phone and give me an answer. The person does not answer. And it goes on that he leaves a message and he still doesn't get a call back, and he has to call the guy again. And the guy says, well, you should get here. Gary says, well, you know, I'm going to have to get a visa, and I do have miles. So I'm going to have to get a visa, but I have a passport, so it'll be a couple of weeks. The guy said, I'll see you in 3 days. Because see, if you really want to be healed, you stop all of that. I got to do this, I got to do that, I got to do the other. You don't worry about all that. You just say, how do I get from here to where my healing is? He goes. He's in a wheelchair. He goes to his family. He's 2 estranged wives, 2 children that he didn't have a relationship with, and says, I need you to go with me to an Aboriginal village for healing. And all of you would probably be willing to go and support him, but his family was not. They said, "You're crazy." But Gary, do you really want to be healed? Because if you want to be healed, you don't let anything stop you from making your connection. So Gary, in a wheelchair with a catheter, gets on a plane for 18 hours by himself. And he said, I was sitting in a wheelchair in the back of the plane with no support from my head for 18 hours, and I cannot walk. But he was determined to get his healing. Just a glint of hope. Nothing that he had ever read, no one that he had ever met, but somehow or another he saw these circumstances and coincidences that were happening and developing in his life, directing him in a particular situation. So he decides to go. He is so exhausted when he gets there, he cannot even sign his name. He signs the documents with an X. And Ray, the healer who's coordinating this experience, comes to pick him up and takes him 7 hours over a terrible road that we call a road. They call a road, we would not call it a road. For 7 hours to stay in a hut that has no door and no windows. And the bed is a plank of wood. But Gary, do you want to be healed? Because all of the circumstances are presenting themselves that this is crazy. It's absolutely crazy. But if you got 2 years, why not? Why not risk it? So he goes and he stays. He meets the healer. The name is Rose. And Rose says, why are you in this situation? And he says, are you saying I'm to blame for my condition? He said, you're going to blame the victim here? She says, that's not what I said. What I said to you is, what do you believe that allowed this condition to manifest in your life? You are worried about the condition. I worry about the condition. It is human. That is not the problem. The problem is the cause of the condition. And so she says to him, tell me why you stop feeling. Because Gary has a degenerative neurological disease. Now, I don't want to tell you that this is the way, if you have a degenerative neurological disease, that this is the way you should get in and lead your life. I am telling you it doesn't make any difference what your dis-ease is. It has spiritually the same basis. Is that you have to reconnect and understand your awareness with the divine. So she says, why don't you feel? He says, well, I don't feel because my father was an alcoholic and he was very, very violent. And if you were within an arm's length, you would almost lose your life. My mother wasn't able to protect us. So I left and all of the confusion and I became a scientist because in science, I could deal with facts and I did not have to feel. We make conditions in our life appear because of the commitments to certain beliefs. He believed he couldn't feel. And so guess what? He couldn't. This is not to blame the victim. I'm not saying that at all. Do not misunderstand me. I am saying we get lost, worried about fixing the condition when we need to go to the cause. Now, if you think I don't know what I'm talking about, just dismiss anything that I say. It's fine. But when you get in trouble, I will answer the phone. Because the issue is I have lived this stuff my entire life. My father, I was 3 years old when they told my father he was going to die. And I went in the hospital. I was 8. I went in the hospital, and I put a yellow gown on me and gloves and a hat cap to go into the ICU. I was 8, okay? I was swallowed in this outfit, okay? And going there, my father says, you know why they let you in, right? And I said, why? He said, because they think I'm going to die. He said, but I make you 3 promises. You will graduate from high school. You will never have a stepfather until you're grown. And the third thing is I will be there with you when you graduate. I graduated June 23rd. My father was dead July 11th. And let me tell you, so you go, oh, Rick, you're putting all this coincidence together and making spiritualized and everything. This was our last conversation, the morning that he died. You know, I really appreciate you. I've never had to come get you out of jail. I've never had to come pick you up in trouble, even though my father told me, you always can call me, even if you tell me I cannot ask you where you are and what you're doing. You can always call me, but do not call your mother. And so this is the day he dies, and he says, you're in college, you graduated from high school, and now you're an adult. You'll never have a stepfather. He committed to each promise. It was 10 years later. The outcome is the same, but the timeline is negotiable. And you just have to be committed that you're going to hold on until things change in the direction that you want. So Gary gets there. He recognizes, he learns, I have a belief that I should not feel. And it manifests in his life as a degenerative disease. And so you'll say, well, did he walk out of there? Actually, he did. Actually, he did. He did walk out of there after a whole lot of healing. And see, here's the thing about spirit. The spirit will give you a glint and a hope that something is your healing is going to come, and then it takes you through everything that you need to go through for you to get there. Because his point was, he said, I knew that I needed to do something when my neurological disease involved my short hairs. Now, for all the men in the room, you know what your short hairs are, okay? So the thing is he ignored the condition until it impaired his groin. And once he did, he then decided things needed to change. Gary learns that he has a belief not to feel. Gary does recover. And when he recovers, he opens a clinic for Aboriginal healing in Southern California. Because they said, your healing is not just for you. It's for the people that will come to you for the same healing. So my question to you is, what is your purpose? What are you called to do? What belief do you have in your life that is causing any limitation in your life? But I have great news for you. If it's your belief, you can change it. And you can change your belief. And sometimes when you cannot totally believe it yourself, you look to the people that you respect and love, and hopefully they're in this community and communities like this, and say, well, they believe, maybe I should believe. And that's what we do. That's what every practitioner and minister, all of us that are ministers, we're practitioners first, we're still practitioners. What we're doing is the exact experience that happened in this Aboriginal village with a 50,000-year-old form of medicine. When he arrived, they said, we see you walking when you leave. And so it is. The place where we consider impossible, God just woke up. You think it's impossible. There is nothing impossible for God. Let us pray, giving thanks and praise. Giving thanks and praise because this power, this one power and presence that permeates all of our being, gives us the ability to find the root of the problem, to pull it out, so that it doesn't come back. The outcome may be the same, but the timeline is negotiable. And I have decided to move that timeline out just a little bit further to fulfill my purpose. If you agree with me and that is your prayer as well, say, and so it is. And so it is. And so it is. It is time for our offering. Really thank you for your generosity to this community. Everything we have here is yours. You created it, you maintain it, you save it, and we're so thankful for that. And repeat after me, my money is God in action. I send it forth to bless and to prosper all who come in contact with it. And so it is. And please welcome back the CSA New Thought Gospel Choir. They work a whole lot harder than I do. Welcome them.
Well, we all know that's not true. Rick is the hardest working person I personally know. So, but thank you. I appreciate the sentiment. Rehearsal every Monday at 7 o'clock, people. We need to grow our numbers even more. We're getting to my dream. I want a whole other row of people standing on the ground because we can't fit them on stage anymore. We're almost there. Come out. If you've been thinking about it, you've been on the fence, come check it out. Mondays at 7. We have a lot of fun.